I want to start off by saying that the original Mass Effect might be my favorite game that I've ever played. Well, it used to be anyway. Bioware has taken everything wrong from the first game and made it right, as well as taking the great things and buffing them up to a fine shine. The result is a game with satisfying, strategic cover-based gameplay, locations and set pieces that beg you to stop and drink in every detail, and unparalleled storytelling that adapts to the player's every minute decision. This adaptation kicks off from the moment you boot up the game, allowing you to start off fresh with an all-new Commander Shepard or import a completion file from Mass Effect. Either way is a viable method of playing, but Bioware's devotion to following up on all of your actions from the first game makes the latter option preferable. Whether that means a chance encounter with Conrad Werner or significant characters missing entirely. However, this means that some of the minor characters from Mass Effect get paid only lip service in the sequel, as though shoehorned in. A load screen within the game promises to take this concept even further with Mass Effect 3. The story picks up not long after the first game ended with the continuing travels of Commander Shepard. Now, I will keep this spoiler-free, but Mass Effect 2 is one of the most intense opening sequences in any game to date, and these events do well at providing a reason for bringing you up to speed, even allowing you to modify your Shepard's facial features again. Needless to say, a new threat has arisen, new allies have come to meet the threat, and Shepard must run down a long list of dossiers.
I've been looking over the dossiers
in order to track down the galaxy's meanest for a mission from which you do not expect to return. The overall narrative arc is quite competent, even great, but what really makes the story is the eclectic cast. There are more available party members this time around, but instead of sacrificing the depth of each, the game gives you the option of tackling an extra quest for each one, revealing each's loves and flaws, as well as giving you a chance to experiment with its combat style. Throughout the 30-ish hours you'll spend on a single run, Bioware's signature dialogue trees keep you involved in the unfolding events, letting you choose on the fly whether to be the heroic paragon or smart-mouthed renegade. Unlike the first game, it seems that the game encourages you to choose either at any time, depending on how you feel. Characters have some great context-sensitive animations this time around, so no longer are you watching two talking heads stare at each other for 2 minutes at a time. All this coupled with highly detailed and colorful character models, superb voice acting for every party member and NPC, and I honestly started looking for a dialogue wheel to pop up whenever I went back to watching movies. It's that cinematic. The game mixes a variety of gameplay types, each an expansion and revision of the systems from the last game. Combat more greatly resembles the standard Gears cover system, and the RPG systems running in the background play much less of a role. Now when you fire a shot, whether or not it lands depends much more on your skill than some invisible dice roll. That's great, but it also feeds into one of my larger gripes with the game. The huge variety found on the squad screen before has been stripped down to just each character's special abilities. No longer health, shields, and accuracy. However, I can't really complain too much, since doing so has greatly enhanced the combat experience. In addition to rebounding shields, you also get recharging health, using Metagel only for reviving teammates. Getting behind cover has never felt so fluid, and in signature Bioware fashion, you can freeze the action at any time in order to switch weapons or use any of your team members' special powers, including several new ones. My favorites include Pull, which you can arc around cover, and AI hacking, causing synthetic enemies to turn on each other. When you're successfully pulling off a string of these powers, it's one of the most rewarding combat experiences in recent memory, and rarely does the frame rate take a hit, even in the most intense battles. Squad commands are much improved as well. By pointing at a spot and punching right or left on the D-pad, that corresponding character will advance to a spot. Unfortunately, there were several occasions when the ally AI would not listen to me, charging forward to places with no cover and promptly dying. This does not happen enough to kill the experience, but in a game where they seemingly fixed all the issues from the predecessor, this bug stands out that much more. Mass Effect 2 is an absolutely gorgeous game. Character models and textures sport greater detail, and facial animations are spot on, and every environment is completely unique in terms of style and color palette, yet all are equally jaw-dropping. The lighting and particle effects work together for some amazing effects, truly enhancing the more intense moments in the game. I found myself slowing frequently in order to just pan the camera around and marvel at the immense amount of detail on everything. That's where the presentation really shines, in the details. Everyone you walk past has their own lives and their own problems, and most of them don't even talk directly to Shepard. When you revisit the spot later, they will say something completely different, and again the next time. A few times I stood listening to an entire conversation for several minutes because of the sharp dialogue and occasionally self-referential humor.
I wish they still made role-playing games like they used to. These days it's all big choices and visceral combat.
A few bugs persist in this as well. I had an instance of sound cutting out, some slower frame rates and quicker cutscenes, and one game crash. None of these really posed much of an issue, especially since the game autosaves fairly regularly. There are many load times as well, replacing the elevators from the previous game, and they can get long, especially when you die in a fight and want to jump right back in immediately. This is a highly polished package, and these minor issues come in frequently in the long run time. Now, I remember when Mass Effect 1 came out, all the reviews heralded the game's praise in spite of myriad technical flaws, and I was extremely skeptical. But when I came around to picking it up, I became a believer. Mass Effect 2 is that kind of game, no apologies necessary. The story gets a 10 for telling an expansive, highly detailed, and thoroughly enthralling tale. Design ranks at a 10. It's incredible how the game allows you to choose your own path through the narrative while keeping you engaged the entire time. And keeping all those dialogue trees in order? Unbelievable. Gameplay gets a 9.5, fluid and fun except for some niggling carryovers from the last game. The presentation comes in with a 9.5, sporting gorgeous locales and copious quality voice talent with few issues. Replay value is an easy 10, as you can play this game many times and never have the same experience. Overall, Mass Effect 2 gets a 9.8, establishing its place not only as another fantastic Bioware game, but one of the best in recent memory.